Hi guys, so for this lesson we're doing two things in one. We're looking at privatisation and we're looking at globalisation. So just to get those key terms down, globalisation is the world becoming more connected. So if you think of ways this happened, online, the internet, we've got things like global businesses, we've got things like transport. We can see this at the minute with things like coronavirus. It started in one country and it's moved globally. So we're a global network in loads of ways. So what you need to be prepared for to answer is there might be a 30 marker just on how globalisation has shaped education. And it sounds hard, but it's all stuff you already know. It's just about putting it into context. And the next is privatisation. So what privatisation is the idea that private companies, private businesses are having more of an impact, more of a role on the current education system. So if you just quickly write a definition for each of those. Okay, now for this, because I felt you probably knew a lot of the research and you probably felt okay with a lot of the research, it was more about learning what's relevant and what's not. I've written out your 4 points and your evaluation point. All I want you to do for this first task is in the middle, explain how each one is linked to globalisation. So explain how this would not have happened, how globalisation has allowed each of these ones. The second reason I'm doing this is because basically I think it would just develop some people's skills in application, which is something a lot of people don't do. And to get into that top grade boundary, you need to be linking back to the question and explaining link to question. So it's not just building knowledge here, we're developing your exam technique. And this would be, I'd say this is quite a nice revision tool to save, print off somewhere, however you want to use it, and to support you with your revision for the exam next year, hopefully. Okay, right, so there's two ways in which that have allowed for polarisation. Now, the first thing is schools now have a lot more control of their spending. So before academies were developed, the school would get their funding from local government, and they would work with the local government in terms of spending. Now, more and more, we've kind of had this development of academies. And academies, we're South Bromsgrove's an academy, and they still have to follow like national curriculum, and they're still judged by Ofsted, and they're free to attend. But what an academy is they get the money from the central government, and then they control how they want to spend it. So, for example, some schools decide to save money by like for the sixth form students not having qualified teachers, whilst we know for our school they treat some of the ways that our school spends money is through hiring teams like BAM. Now that means you end up having more private companies used within schools. So as an example, like I said before, we use BAM, we use Sam Learning, because that's some of the ways that the senior leadership team at our academy has chosen to spend their money. So schools now have more freedom in choice in how they spend their money, and that's one way in which they do it. So if you click on the link and just watch the video and describe how that would impact describe what they do, like how this private company has been brought in. Again, this is something that we watched actually in the lesson, so it is a reminder, but I don't see the point in giving you a brand new example to learn when this is like a really good example. And finally, think about how this would create inequality. Now, if you're not sure, email me, but I'm going to give you a clue because I want you to try and get this from previous lesson. Think outstanding schools have a high ratio of students, so a high amount of funding, and it is middle class kids that go to these outstanding schools because they get cream skimmed into them. Cream skimmed is where you select the most likely to achieve at school. Working class students are silt shifted, which means they're not picked up by the outstanding schools, they're silt shifted into the failing schools that are going to have less money. So use that information to help you with evaluation. Next is our idea of colorisation. So what you've got to think is schools are kind of the central of community, they're a central part of family life. They're normally seen in a very positive light, they're not very controversial, so they're quite a good place for companies to promote themselves, and that's why you get lots of supermarkets and food companies choose to promote themselves through schools. So the way I mean by this is like Cadbury's in the past have, if you buy a certain amount of Cadbury bars, you get a computer for your school. So if you, this sounds kind of positive, but if I could get you to read the article and answer the 4 questions. Again, I'd like you to explain how it causes inequality. So think about middle class parents and middle class schools are going to have more money to spend on getting these type of vouchers than in a failing school, which is mainly working class students. So think how that might cause inequality. Okay. Finally, all I want you to do is 1 paragraph for the 30-mark question I've given you. And this looks at what we've done this lesson and where we've previously done marketisation. So you're going to get feedback on this. So if you found marketisation difficult, then maybe have a go at that because you're going to get feedback. Or if you found privatisation policies difficult, maybe have a go at that. So you're going to get a bit of feedback and support if you make a mistake. And I don't. If any of you do want to do the whole 30-mark essay because you want to have a go at it, please feel free. I'm happy to mark it, but I'm only requiring you to do 1 paragraph. All right. Hope you're all okay and get to speak to you soon. Bye.